Hello Flosstube, my name is Kristen, and if you are new here, this is my channel about my experiences with my cross stitch, and if you are returning, as always, I appreciate you coming back to spend some time with me. Today is August 31st, so this is a recap of what I stitched on in the month of August, which was a month of Joan Elliott. And I really just have stitching to show. I don't have any haul, I don't have any of that today, so I'm just going to get right to it, and I'm going to start with my monthly full coverage, which is Thread Geeks by Outlander. And I don't usually keep track of numbers and things, but I was just curious. So I looked, because I've been working on this one every month since, well, the beginning of the year. And I have done a total of 5,013 stitches since January. This month I only got 323, because I've just been busy. It was a vacation, we had a vacation week. I was away from home like the last 3 weekends, and even though I really just stitch in the evenings, even on the weekends, it still was time away. So all that considered, I didn't do too bad, but this is the last one I worked on, so it didn't get too much done. But this is what I got to, and it's been nice to kind of see her face start to appear. What I really should do is really start to kind of work up in here and fill some of this in, or fill some of this in and stop coming out this way, but maybe next time I take it out, we'll do a little background. And this is 2/1 half cross on 28 count using CXC, which I think if I've mentioned before, if I had known, I would have gone 25 count because it is a little thick and sometimes a little hard to get the needle through in tight spots. Now, I talked about this one last time. This is my other non-full coverage monthly piece. Mirabilia's Freebie Dragonfly from the Australian Retreat. I don't remember what year that was from, and I don't think you can get this anymore. So I didn't really set out to do a conversion. I just grabbed what I had in stash, except for the fabric. I did buy the fabric, and I bought the beads and the Krennic, but then never really thought about how that was going to look with the flosses I chose. Anyway, last time I showed you, I was really unhappy with the beads in here. So I took them out again for like the 4th time, and I think one row I just took one out so it wouldn't look so bunched. It didn't matter how I did it. They just started to look like a mangled mess. And this section wasn't too bad, but then I went to go down, and it's just pissing me off. And I brought a little bit of the Krennic up here and a little bit on the tip of the wing. That I might keep. This I thought still looked funny, so I took it out and I filled the rest of it in with that same color purple. So I'm happier with that section. I'm just still not happy with the beads, to the point where I've almost thought about just taking this guy out of rotation and swapping for another Mirabilia as one of my monthly pieces, which I still might do. Yeah, I guess you'll find out next month, whatever I decide to take out and work on. I thought about taking out the peacock, but just to kind of replace the small one with the small one. I don't know. But that one's just making me not happy. So the rest of the month were all my Joan Elliott's. I worked on Madonna and Child for, I think I got them mostly for 4 or 5 days. This is Madonna and Child. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, Madonna and Child. And I am doing them on 28 count Lugana, hand painted by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers after the rain. And I decided to start working on her face. And I am not great with faces because I'm not super great with fractionals. And I had a hard time. I got to a point where it didn't look like they were going to be quarter stitches. It almost looked like it was supposed to be just like the top half. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. I didn't totally finish her face yet, so I guess we'll see next time I take her out what I did. I guess once the back stitching and stuff is in, it will determine whether or not I made mistakes or not. I love this fabric. if you look online on the website, you can see some raindrops, which I just asked for her to not put on there for me. I thought it would be busy enough with the beads and the birds, and I didn't want to detract from them. And then I worked on, this isn't really the order I worked on them, but I guess it doesn't matter. Celestial Dragon, which I am doing on 20 count linen in the color Hyacinth from Sweet Stash. And it's just a mixture of DMC and CXC. And I think I also just kind of subbed out some petite treasure braid for the Krennic just because I did. And I got a lot of work done on his, really worked on his hip or his leg right in there. And then I think I came up and I worked a little bit more in here too. I got a fairly decent chunk done on him. I filled in all these. I think I had a little bit of a problem because one of the CXC colors is super similar to one of the other ones, and so I was having a hard time figuring out, yeah, where I was because it just all looked the same. I love this fabric; it's so pretty. It's showing up pretty true on the camera too. Thought it looked pretty spacey. I bought this a really long time ago, and I got a huge piece, and I used the other half, I think I've mentioned before, for Lilith, who you can kind of see at the top there. And so now I've got my two littles. This is Celtic Twilight, which I bought as a kit, but I swapped out the fabric for a Picture This Plus Lugana in the color Barnwood. So I was hoping a darker fabric, maybe her wings and the moon would stick out a little bit more. And my plan is to not stitch the border. So we'll see what I feel like when she's all done and see if it looks like it's missing something. So I worked on her. Whoops. I worked on a little bit of this section of her green, the green section of her dress, and then I did worked on the purple section. I've enjoyed these charts. I like these charts. They're easy. It's not really blocks, but it's also not. I just find them kind of relaxing to stitch on. Now this next one, I have to make a confession because that's just the way I roll. I can't help it. I can't. I'm going to be kitting up Waiting for Ships, which I got on Marketplace a month or so ago. And I was just looking around for different nautical fabrics and things, and I really liked this piece of fabric that I bought for Dancing Mermaid, and so I was looking at maybe just getting a bigger piece for Waiting for Ships. I'm just looking through this magazine to show you the picture. And then I realized that I'm stitching the fabric upside down, which I know I didn't really have to share, but I just can't help it because I just can't. Anyway, I've made a mistake like that before. And now I can't unsee it, but I'm going to keep going with it anyway. So that is Dancing Mermaid. It's just me. Typical. Okay. So now you're not going to unsee it either. So I worked on her cape, I guess you could call it. And then I got the little fish done. So yeah, now that you look at it, I guess that's really the top of the water because then the rays are coming down. So yeah, whatever. We're just going to consider those the rippling of the top of the water, and that's the sand, and I'm sticking with it because I am certainly not taking that all out and starting over. I am going to enjoy it anyway. Which it made me think, I pulled out one of my other finishes because I did something similar. Years ago, I was doing a Stargate, a little Stargate thing, and it's a little sampler. And I was searching, if you're familiar with Stargate, it's the old sci-fi show with the big circle that they can go through wormholes to go to other planets and things, and it's got this ripply, watery effect. So I was looking for something that kind of had that look to it, and I found this lady on Etsy who's actually not too far. She's in Massachusetts. And this is Dusty, sorry. And it was swirly, and I thought it looked perfect, and then I stitched it, and then when I was done, I looked, and I stitched it on the back side. So that's what I ended up with. But on the back of it, there's some really good swirls, and I just... Yeah, it's just me. Those are the things I do. I still like it. And I was kind of happy. This is the first time I ever cut myself a mat, which I didn't think I did too bad. Considering I think I spent like, I don't know, $3 on the frame, and anyway. Yeah. So that's why I said the good and the bad, because there's plenty of both. So you guys, that's all I stitched on in August. And then it was overwhelmingly, you guys chose ink circles for me to stitch on in September. And I am going to show you what I'm going to stitch on, because one's going to be new. But let me just pull out the ones that are already whipped. So I've got all my elemental dragons except for fire, because I finished that one. This is air. And I am stitching this on a piece of Chromatic Alchemy, which they are retired from dyeing. And I'm using Weeks Dye Works Eggplant. That's my progress on that one. I feel like, for some reason, it's funny how some fabrics show up perfect and some don't. That's too bright. I'd say somewhere back here is its true color. I really like that. I like the variegation on this Weeks Dye Works. Of course, I'm always drawn to purples anyway. And then we have water. I think this is the one I have the least amount of progress on. This is also on a Chromatic Alchemy. These are all on 18 count. And the Weeks Dye Works on this is Peacoat, which actually is slightly more green than I realized, but I think it still looks pretty good. This is going to be another one that doesn't show up great. It's not too bad back here. And then a better shot of the floss on that one. I know it's still August, but I did do a little bit on Outlander this morning, and this afternoon I'm probably going to get one of these on my Q-Snap. And then we also have Earth. And I am doing, this is on a Picture This Plus 18 count jade using, this is the one I can never remember the name of the floss. I think it's onyx. I'll tell you, every time I take it out, I tell you the wrong thing. It's onyx. Oh, I had it right. This was, yeah, this fabric and floss got delivered, and the envelope was outside. I got home that day, and it came early. It came like actually a couple days early, so I wasn't really expecting it. And I was washing dishes going, what the heck is outside? And the dogs, because I guess my husband let them out and didn't realize there was anything sitting there, had a field day with the floss and the fabric and something else that came from 123 Stitch. So the fabric was fine. I just washed everything, and then I hand washed all the floss. I have since bought one more skein of this Weeks Dye Works because sometimes it just starts to break. So I think it's from the dogs beating it up. So hopefully I don't run out. And I'd say again back here that's pretty close for the color of the fabric. And I'll give you a little bit better idea on the floss. It's just a nice chocolatey brown. Then I'm going to have a new start, which I decided to do one in all beads. Which now that I've been struggling with beads on the dragonfly, I'm not sure this is a good idea. But I'm going to do 4 delis. It's not a particularly big one. I forget the exact, it's like 70 something by 70 something. I had initially bought, these are Capri Blue Delicas, which I think they're a pretty color. I also have a tube that I got at Hobby Lobby of a slightly darker blue because I thought maybe I would do, just pick and do some little accents. Because my original plan was to stitch it on this piece of Lugana. This is in the color Ren by Picture This Plus, because I thought that would look pretty cool. But I just don't want to get started and have it, because it's hand dyed. If it, you get to shrink, and if it doesn't fit and they all get clumped together, I don't want to not enjoy it. So then I remembered I got this piece of, this is 14 count, which I don't know if I even have anything on 14 count. And it's all wrinkled because I washed it, and then I washed it to try to make it less stiff because it was super stiff, and I haven't ironed it. It's not the color combination I was really planning on doing, but I did put it on my Instagram. The feedback was fairly good, so I think I'm going to go for it. So this is, I don't remember the brand or anything. It's like, it almost reminds me of a meadow. It's kind of like blues, a little bit of green, and some white. I guess that's probably pretty close there. So I decided it would be safer for me to not get them all crunched up and get frustrated, that maybe I would go on a little bit larger count. I know technically it's the same, but I think because this is hand dyed, it's probably going to end up being a tiny bit smaller. So I just thought I'm going to give this a try. I have to make a working copy of that chart before I can start it, so I probably won't start that right away. Sometime this month. That's what I'm going to do, and we'll see how that goes. So that's what I'm going to work on in September. And then you guys get to choose what you want me to stitch on for October, which I can't believe I'm even talking about, which I usually give you guys about 3 groups of things to choose from. So last month you guys overwhelmingly chose ink circles. I think there were a couple of votes for Mirabilia and then a couple of votes for my Heaven and Earth design. So I'm going to put those 2 groups back up, and then I just picked, I'm not really sure what to call this next group. I just decided to choose a bunch of projects that over this since the beginning of the year, I had a bunch of new starts, and I haven't touched these since. So it's like first, I don't know, it's first timers, I don't know what to call them, but they're projects that I've only worked on once. And the first one is Alchemical Wedding from Thread Geeks. And I have to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure if this is 25 count or, I can tell you in a second. It is 25 count. And I did do that because this is all CXC. But I am doing 1/1 full cross. And that's the progress that I made when I took it out the first time. So center start, it's not a very small one. Most of my Thread Geeks charts are fairly reasonable size. This one was 378 stitches by 468 stitches, so it's a pretty big one. This might be, except for the ones that I charted because I don't know what I'm doing, this is probably the biggest one that I have. Obviously, this is not gridded, and if you watch me long enough, you know that that can be dangerous, so I am going to not try to travel very far. I'm going to try to just stay close. Sorry, I'm trying to get that back in and not make noise. And I also have the Storyteller, which I've only taken out once. This is also, I'm doing a center start. And I'm doing that on 28 count, just opalescent. What's happening? And I did not get a very good start on this, but that's the start that I did get. And you know what? I'm going to just try to get those back in their packages after I'm done. Then, my only filing designs, smoke, which I plan to not stitch the words. I'm just going to do the two dragony, wispy, smoky creatures and the star. This one, I went way out of my comfort zone and got a piece of Picture This Plus linen, 28 count lava. And some of this is 2/2 and some of it's 1/2. I think just to give it that translucent look in some sections. I chose this color, which that's more what it looks like, kind of a darker. Because I thought, you know, smoke and fire went together. Not thinking about the black one's head and how that's going to probably blend in. But I will figure that out when I get there. And then I also thought for that, if you chose a group of the things I've only worked on once, that would also include my Cathedral Woods Goddess. She is being done on 28 count, Picture This Plus, linen ancient. Yep, that's right. I got threads hanging. She's pretty, if I remember right, it's been a while since I took her out. I feel like she's pretty bead heavy in the middle. I don't know if I'll work down into her dress or work up. After fighting with Madonna's face, I think I probably will work down. Because I don't want to fight. So it will be those four if you chose for me to stitch on, you know, some projects that have only been out once. She would also be in the month of Mirabilia's, which I will show you the other three, which these are just all ladies, no mermaids or fairies. So we've got the Kiss. I am doing this with all called for, with the exception of the beads, which except for these big ones, those are Mill Hills. But the rest are, I got Delicas, which I'm excited to try those, because I'm hoping I will fight with them less. I've got a fairly good amount of progress on this one. And this is 28 count, I believe it's Apple Blossom. It's whatever it was called for. I don't have my glasses on, sorry. Apple Blossom. I don't wear my glasses because I don't know how to have them on and not have the light shining in them. I think I worked up into the flowers the last time. And so it would include one new start, which would be the Forest Goddess, which my plan was to have her be the buddy to the Woods Goddess. This was gifted to me. I'm just going to say it was gifted to me, along with the beads, which was awesome. And then I got a piece of 28 count Monaco from the Crazy Hamster, who sells her fabrics on Stash Unloading Cross Stitch Only, I think is the name of it, which I'm keeping an eye out for her, because I feel like every week or so she puts up more fabrics, because I still haven't decided what kind of fabric I'm going to get for waiting for ships. But this is, it's kind of like a really pale pink with some green in there, because she really, I know in this picture doesn't do her justice, because I've looked her up on some of the groups I'm in, and where this almost looks yellow, it's really not. It's really more green. So I think she's going to look good on this. And then that would leave the fourth Mirabilia of my ladies would be the Rose of Sharon, which I'm doing her all called for with the exception of her hair, which I turned her into like a brunette auburny. That's what I used to look like before I went gray. And this is another Chromatic Alchemy fabric, which I love. I miss them. This is called Petra, and this is a 28 count Lugana. I think the last time I took her out, I did her arms. And this never shows up right. This is such a pretty fabric. I wish you guys could see it. It's opalescent. My goal was to have it look like almost like stone because of the stone arch. I just thought it would be pretty. And it's really got, it does really have some like kind of peach tones to it. It's really pretty. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just did her hands. My initial plan was to get up to the arch and then work my way down and over because I'm really scared I'm going to screw that up and have it be not even. But and I do, you guys probably don't even think I count. I do count multiple times, but I still managed to screw stuff up. Okay, so we have my one-timers, my Mirabilias, and then my Heaven and Earth designs to choose from. So we've got my mini, sorry, oh, my nose is itchy. I got, I think the fall allergies are kicking in. We were at a fair last night, and it was windy, and the rides were blowing everything to my face. This is a Mini Day Night by Joan Shannon. This is being done 1/1 full cross on 25 count, easy count. And this was my previous monthly full coverage chart, which I really do need to get back up here and start filling this in. It's just so tempting. Sometimes I pull it out, I'm like, oh, there's some blocks. Let's just do some of that. But I really need to start pulling this down. I really should probably start pulling this, finish these little ninja stitches and pull this across. The reason I went down, which is because I wanted to see the detail in his face to make sure it looked okay. Because I forget if it's, I don't remember in the mini how much detail you lose, but it's something like, I can't remember if it's 15% or something, and I was afraid there's so much fine detail down here that it would look funky. But I'm happy with it so far. And then I have the sister chart, which the picture's a lot smaller, Mini Night Day. I don't know if it'll focus if I get it closer. I think it's getting blurry. This, I'm doing the same count, 1/1 full cross, and I have a very small start. Well, small, but my smallest full coverage start. You can't even really see what's going on there. There's a tree here. If I get it really close, you'll see all the little spots from the coverage. This is all DMC on these. I had these all kitted up before I realized CXC was a thing. And then I would say this is my quote-unquote full-size Heaven and Earth design, Hold True by Adele Sessler, which I'm just way up in here in this background. This is one that is not gridded. Again, not a great idea for me. And this was one that I actually almost decided to throw in the towel on, but I'm just going to keep going. I think it's an optical illusion. It just looks crooked, but I've checked it and rechecked it, and yes, I know I stitched the edges wrong. I meant to do zigzag, and I'm sure I was distracted by somebody. The stitches do come out here. It's just that they're really light, so you can't see it. And last but not least is my Quick Stitch Phantom of the Opera by Amy Stewart. I'm doing this. This is 2/1 half cross on 28 count. And honestly, I don't remember. I think this is probably a mixture of CXC, and I got a full set of that a long time ago. And then there was a seller that I liked on Etsy, and she was kind of like retiring, so she sold a ton. And anyway, I have a big stash of CXC, so it's anyway. That's why I have the mixture, because I try to work from stash. So that's where I am. Is that the right way? That is the right way. I did this the one and only time I ever started from the right corner. Still not sure why. I don't know what possessed me to want to get into the metallic so fast. So those are the choices for what you want me to stitch on in October. Mirabilias, the ladies, Heaven and Earth Designs, or the 4 like one time only charts. I'm not sure what I'm gonna call that, but please let me know what you want me to stitch on for October. I'm going to keep doing that format because I've been having fun with it. I like some of the interaction and to see what you guys want me to stitch on, at least through the end of the year, which really will be here before you know it. And then I am pretty certain that I am going to do like a 26 for 26, and I can talk more about that in the next coming months. But I have made lists of all my whips, of which I'm embarrassed to even say how many there are, and I kind of grouped them into 10 separate groups. And I've already got a formula. I got the little spinny wheel thing, which, again, when we get closer, I'll ask if you guys even want to see that, or if I'm just do it on my own and tell you what got picked. Because I'm just gonna pick, like I have 4 Heaven and Earth designs, so I'm gonna pick 2 of those, and then 2 Thread Geeks, and like 5 out of my Mirabilias, and I know the groups were Mirabilias, Joan Elliott's, ink circles. I have a bunch of different kind of groups, and then I have some full coverage that are other designers, and then I just had other designers of like the non-full coverage, and then I had like Etsy charts were its own group, and I'm just going to spin the wheel, and whatever I get, and that's what I'm going to stitch on for 2026, and if I finish something, then we'll just spin again and put something in its place. So that might get me a little bit, and maybe I will get a finish because I'll have less to work off of. Anyway, I don't know if that made sense, but I'll do more detail with that in the upcoming months. So I hope everybody has a really great September, and I will see you at the beginning of October. Take care.